It's episode 5, and we are going to be talking all things fourth shots, aka one of the most underrated and probably under-practiced shots in all of pickleball. If you've listened to our podcasts before, you know that we've preached that there are 2 different strategies happening concurrently in pickleball. You've got winning points, and then you have the art of preventing points from being won. The return is the first weapon in your arsenal to prevent points from being won. And the second and arguably more important weapon is your 4th, your 6th, your 8th shots. I personally cannot stress the importance of the 4th enough because it's one of those shots that when you're doing it well, it's indicative of a wider understanding, a broader comprehension of the game. It means you're watching your opponents well. You're probably returning well. It means you're staying in your shot and you're making good decisions. So Scott, please give us 4th shot 101. Tell us, what is it? Why is it so important? And what are the different types of 4ths?
So yeah, the 4th shot is really handling your opponent's 3rd. And like, as you just pointed out, it's like how aggressively that 3rd is going to be coming at you, directly related to how well you hit your return. So the 2nd and 4th shots go together in the same way that like kind of the 1st and 3rd, right? How big your serve is will give you an easier 3rd shot. Well, how well you execute a return of serve will give you a more attackable, or it will get you a lead in the point so that your 4th shot is much more manageable or routine. So yeah, it really, to me, the 4th shot is about keeping the lead in the point, right? The returning team is sort of designed to have the advantage in pickleball because the serving team has to let it bounce. So if you can hit quality returns and then you can get up there and be aggressive with the 4th, you can keep the lead in the point and, hopefully side out your opponents.
And so we really have, 2 scenarios: when the 4th bounces and when it doesn't. Is that fair to say?
There's a lot of different ways you can break out the 4th. I like to break it into when they drive it at me versus when they drop it to me. And when they drop it to me, then yes, what you just said is absolutely right. It's like if I'm receiving a drop, can I take it out of the air or do I have to let it drop and bounce?
So let's tackle first when it drops. What are our options when it has dropped? Like it's a good 3rd, right? Let's say it's a good 3rd, and then let's say it dropped and it bounced high. Let's tackle those.
Yeah, so as you see that the drop coming, as quickly as possible, you have to assess, can I take this ball out of the air? Because that's what you want. If you take it out of the air, you limit their time because they're trying to get in. If you can't take it out of the air and you let it bounce, that is going to give them a lot of time. They are going to be in closer. So if you are letting it bounce, you better hope that it's going to bounce up high so that you can continue, so that you can still be aggressive with this shot. Otherwise, you've kind of given away the advantage and the point has been neutralized. So to me, it really is about how quickly can I judge, can I get this thing out of the air? If I can, I kind of want to do that and keep them back as best I can. But it's, the 4th, it's a very complicated, there's a lot going on. And it is kind of the shot that separates the great pros from the good pros and the good pros from the wannabe pros and the 5-5s from the 5-0s. It's like it is where people kind of separate their level, is all of the details of this 4th.
I literally could not agree more. This is where levels get separated. And I was really curious if you were going to say you should always take your 4th in the air when you can. And you did say it. And I feel like in today's culture and the hot paddles, you've got so much poaching going on. And I hate it when I take a 4th in the air, don't do the right thing with it, and I have a body flying across the court, and they tag my partner because it was my fault. So, question for you. If I'm going to take the 4th in the air, but I can't do much with it, right? It's not high. It's kind of mid or low, right? I've dipped my paddle. What spots on the court do I want to aim to prevent that huge poach?
So the answer to a lot of these questions is it depends. In this case, it depends. So you've just set up that I'm taking this ball out of the air, but it's below the height of the net, so I can't really be too aggressive with it. Right. And then now, if I have a poacher that's kind of halfway up to the kitchen line and sort of looking to be aggressive, typically that poacher is going to kind of lean to the middle of the court. And so usually they're going to be very close to the middle. And so now I'm no longer aggressive. Now I'm a little bit in, let's keep this neutral. So to me, the answer to that question is pick a sideline and get it on the ground. That is because once the other team has hit a third that you're going to be taking from below the height of the net, they've neutralized the point. If you can take it from above the net, you're still ahead. You can be aggressive. But once they've hit a third that's below the net, no longer, unless you let it bounce and it bounces up and you can rip it, that's pretty much the last aggressive option there is. So if you choose to take it out of the air from below the net, you better find a sideline and you better get it on the ground.
I call this the art of the relent. There is nothing wrong with relenting, with aiming for those sidelines when you're playing against someone who A, is a great poacher, and B, they just hit a good third shot drop, right? And you're reaching in. Where can you go? Well, Scott just said it, you guys. Sidelines, short and sidelines. My sister, who on one of our last podcasts I described as a 5'0", she was very offended by that, by the way, Scott. She said, I am much closer to a 5'4". So let the record state that I have gone ahead and made that edit on this podcast. I gave her advice yesterday. She sent me some video. I said, your fourths are terrible, Natalie. You are getting killed on poaches. Today, I want you to go out, and this is the only shot you will ever hear me give permission to miss in the net in pickleball in practice. I said, I would rather see you miss your fourth wide because you aimed for a sideline, or short because you tried to cut it too close to the net, then give them easy poaches. And so she went out today and called me and said, hey, that was really good advice. Why didn't you tell me this 3 weeks ago? Which, by the way, do you have any students that do that to you? Hey, that was good advice. Why didn't you tell me this before?
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
T-shirt. Yes, that's going on a T-shirt.
So it's like, why didn't she get it then? She wasn't ready then. That's why.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so now let's say the fourth bounces and it bounces high. What are we doing?
Yeah, that's...
Or I'm sorry, the third bounces high. So, and
that is sort of the new school. I'm going to be aggressive with this. And so as soon as you see, and this is the problem, we talked about my third, like what I don't like about my thirds last week is that I hit them too high. There's too much arc on them, because what my opponents will do is once they see it, above head height, they're pretty quick to, I'm going to back up, get away from this ball, and then I'm going to step in and rip it with my forehand. And, with the paddles and the spin and, the very good technique that the pros have, they really can hit an aggressive shot there. So high thirds, are easier to make, but there's a price. And the price is that they bounce up, and someone with nice technique can be very aggressive with that fourth. So it's like once someone sees the high one, they back up and they start loading that forehand. And a lot of times the backhand. It's like there's a growing number of players with these circular backhands. Mm-hmm. The ladies' final over the weekend, Rachel Rohrbacher and Anna Bright, and Anna Lee, they have such great two-handers. You can't really read where it's going, and that is aggression there too off the bounce.
That's absolutely one of my favorite plays is if the ball's coming to my backhand and for whatever reason I didn't ERNE it and I didn't take it in the air, if it's bouncing high, back up and then rip cross court all the way to the left side player's backhand. And I can't say enough about where I think the game is going in terms of practicing these bounced fourth rips. Cross court, down the line, play around with it. If you're listening at home, the key to that is footwork, right? So as soon as that ball bounces and you're deeming that it's going to bounce high, you can watch Zane Navratil, who's a great example of this, back up as quickly as you can. That shot is all about footwork, and then explode forward once you make contact. Would you say that sounds about right, Scott?
Oh yeah, 100%. I do think that Zane is one of the best at moving and preparing for that shot. And you can tell that he likes that shot. It's like there's probably a lot of balls that he could have taken out of the air, but it's like he recognizes this is going to bounce up, so here comes this forehand.
So we've talked about taking the fourths in the air. We've talked about when they bounce and they bounce high, what to do. We've talked about when we reach and we're in a little bit of a danger spot, where to put it for optimal safety. But we haven't talked, what about when the third bounces, it's a really great third, and you're kind of trying to short hop that fourth or stay still and do nothing. Like there's a couple different ways to describe that shot. Can you walk us through technique for that?
Yeah. So again, it's about how quickly can I recognize how good this incoming third, how good is it? And the sooner you recognize how good it is, the sooner you can prepare. So if it's coming in high and you think, oh, this might bounce up, let me back up and be aggressive with it. But a lot of times it's like, well, this is a 10 out of 10 low dropping with top spin third. This thing's going to land in the kitchen with top. This is going to be trouble. That's when you concede, right? You just like, hey, let me just survive. I'm no longer at this point isn't even neutral anymore. They took the lead as soon as they hit that drop with top spin, and now it's bouncing in the kitchen. I have to hit a good shot to stay neutral, and that is really just a short hop dink into their kitchen that they cannot attack. It is no longer I'm trying to keep them back. I'm not trying to get anything out of this. I am not trying to be clever. I am now trying to survive. And this happens to me a lot because I am fortunate enough to get into games with 6-0 plus players, and I am kind of a half a level below that. So, guess where all the great drops are coming? They're coming my way. And I am constantly I need to survive this point. And the answer to that is I'm short hopping this thing back in the kitchen and just starting a dink rally so that I don't get my partner lit up by trying to get too much out of it.
So step one is recognition. So we could almost create like a decision tree for this. So is the third bad? Did they just hit a bad third? If yes, punish it, right? We just want to pound that thing as hard as we can or as down as we can if they've started to come in, correct?
Yes, if you can get it from above the net, you are in the lead. You want to stay in the lead.
Punish it. I tell my sister this. I go, why are you not hitting that ball, that fourth, that high fourth? Why are you not hitting that as hard as you can? So we want to punish bad thirds, just unleash on them. Now, is their third good? And if it is, we have to ask ourselves, all right, can we reach it? And if we can reach it, we're aiming for the sidelines and we're aiming shallow. Or is their third high and shallow? Now you can't swing at it, right? It's not awful, but it is gonna bounce. So then maybe we back up, we let it bounce, and we rip it. Are those kind of the three decision trees? Are we missing one?
No, I like that. It's like you kind of described, there's two types that are going to bounce. It's going to bounce, but it will come up high and I can rip it, or it's going to bounce and it's just a nice drop. I have to concede. I have to get this thing over, and have it be unattackable and be willing to just get involved in a dink rally. And I think this is the decision that most amateurs don't recognize quick enough. They don't identify it. And it's like, I think a lot of amateurs they oversimplify that, well, my job here is to keep them back, and whatever is incoming, I'm going to just send it back. And there's just too much air under it, and someone's going to come in and rip that ball. It's like we described earlier, it's like handling the fourths is where levels of player get separated, and recognizing a good drop, or even just a drop that I can't do anything with, even if I would like to be able to, but I can't. The better players concede more quickly and just get the thing on the ground. Because keep in mind, we are the returning team. If we make a mistake here, it costs us a point. So you still have to kind of have that. You want to keep the lead if you have the lead, but you don't want to make errors when you're the returning team. So it's like you've got to make the smart choice as well.
Sidebar question for you. When you're playing side out scoring, so not MLP, not rally, just normal scoring, do you feel like you play legitimately different depending on if you're serving or receiving? Do you play more conservative, more conscious of not taking risk when you don't want to lose a point?
Yes, but not all the time. I think if I was playing my best at all times, I think I would kind of like to have that mentality where when I'm serving, I feel a little looser and I can take some chances. That's okay. When I'm receiving, it's like, I need to be a little smarter here. And I think if I erred on one side or the others, I probably, when I'm receiving, probably need to be more conservative than I turn out to be, because I think that's probably where I go. And so what happens is the closer the match, like if it's 9-all in a game and it's like we get down to these tight points, I think then that does kind of kick in.
Yeah.
But I think I'm probably a little loose up until somebody gets to 7. I think it's probably more equal. And I'd have to think about if that's a good or a bad thing. I like to think of myself as someone who is hard to score points against. So I think let me just answer. I would like to, when I'm returning, always have that switch on. I don't want to give any freebies here.
So you're playing not all rallies are created equally, and I think that makes sense. Something I try and tell myself when it gets tight is be more aggressive, because my tendency is to probably be a little more conservative. So if I just tell myself be aggressive, I'll probably end up at my my median where I should be anyway. So it sounds like, Scott, the fourth is almost more mental than physical. It's like IQ based. I think of driving the ball as a physical thing, right? This tactical thing, skill based, that you can, practice 1,000 shots and get stronger and hit it lower or put more spin on it. And I think of the fourth not so much as like skill or technique based. I'm really starting to see it as this way more mental thing after listening to you.
No, that's when you say it that way, the first thing I came to is, the fourth is the first chess shot of the point.
Wow. I gotta write that down.
Now we're, as soon as the third is hit, the reason we're going to stop, and we started with the first shot, then the second shot, then the third, then the fourth. Well, it ends here because just everything gets so complicated quickly. But there are so many different types of fourths, because it could be driven high, it could be driven low, it could be dropped high, dropped medium, dropped low, dropped with spin. There are so many different fourths. Yes, this is kind of where the complexity and the fun of the game. This is why pickleball is. Yeah. This is why I quickly loved pickleball and converted from tennis, because this was the shot selection aspect of it was just so challenging, and there were so many options and so much creativity and so much variety that was necessary. And it's like, I kind of enjoyed this. It made my brain hurt for the first 4 or 5 months. Specifically the fourth. The fourth was crazy to me. I remember writing in my little pickleball diary, when in doubt, like when I'm kind of grinding through all this, my head was hurting while I was playing when I was new and didn't know. When in doubt, just put the ball in the kitchen. Yes. Like, the fact that I have doubt means like I'm in a spot where it's like, well, I don't know what the right shot is. If that happens, just drop the ball in the kitchen and you'll be fine.
That is the golden nugget moment of this podcast. I feel like every podcast you distill the entire theme into one sentence, and it is right there. When in doubt, drop that ball in the kitchen. I would add at the sidelines if you can. So I love that, Scott. Thank you for that. Let me ask you, what about someone's driving the third at you? So how does that change your fourth? And then talk to me about when you're on the switch too.
Yeah, that is, so far we've talked mostly about if the ball is dropped, you have these decisions to make. If the ball is driven, less decisions. It's just going to happen. It's going to happen fast. And I kind of put it into 2 categories. If it's driven low, I'm just trying to survive, trying to not get poached. I'm trying to not dump this ball in the net. I need to get low and get under it. So if it's driven low, I'm in survival mode. If it's driven higher, now what I want to do is I have the potential to keep the lead in the point. This to me is the most, I would say, underplayed shot in pro pickleball is a chest high drive. I think too commonly people just make the volley. It lands in the middle of the court, and now you've given your opponent a pretty easy fit to just hit a drop, neutralize. I mean, there's a reason that third shot drive, fifth shot drop is a kind of classic strategy for, hey, what in doubt, how do I get to the kitchen? Well, that's what it is. So I think that fourth shot volley off of a drive, if that drive is a little high, I think people underplay that shot. You want to keep it deep. You want to keep your lead in the point. And on a chest shoulder high drive, that's going to stay in. It's like, well, let that ball go out if it's a chest high drive, right? But if it's high enough, be aggressive and keep the lead in the point. Don't just dump that thing in the middle.
I agree completely. There was a woman I befriended at the Gamma Classic in Pittsburgh over the weekend, and she actually played against my wife, Kristen, and she lost. Kristen won that match and went on to win a silver medal in 4-0 mixed. Yay, Kristen! Sidebar, Kristen also played 3-5 women's singles and got bronze, and it was the most stressful day of my entire life. And I took that medal home and I said, I'm cherishing this thing. It is mine, Kristen, and she can't have that medal. I'm probably gonna wear it around for at least a month, definitely on my birthday, October 2nd. Anyway, so this woman said, hey, do you have any advice for me after her match? I said, I do. When Kristen and her partner Stefan were driving at you, you were just kind of hitting a nothing block, floating it to the midcourt, and it was so high and there was so nothing on it, they were able then to even drive their fifth. And it was kind of an easy, like, drive combination. And she said, well, what should I do? I said, get that thing deep, right? This is your opportunity to keep them back, punish that drive. And it was the first time this notion of swing at your fourth, right? Like, get your fourth deep. It was the first time she had ever heard that she could do more with that fourth than just kind of block nothing it, like to actually be able to counter it, to follow through, swing at it, right? When you guys hear me say swing at it, I actually don't mean backswing. I mean, catch that ball in front of you and follow through with it. So I think this could be a good moment to show the Ben Johns video we queued up. Do you agree?
Yeah.
All right, let me share my screen, and we can see exactly how Ben does this, because he does it so well. All right, Scott, talk us through this.
So while I was watching this match, I kept noticing how is Ben handling getting driven at, and what he kept doing, and I saw it about 5 times in this match, is as he's running forward, he just kind of he has his backhand out in front of him, and it's a punch while he's moving. And it's like, and you know, whether this particular clip shows it perfectly, but it's almost, he splits when he's about a step from the kitchen, and then kind of one step, and then just punches, but he punches it back with intention, with depth, and now he still has the lead in the point. And so that's really the point you and I are trying to make here is, just as you have to assess quickly how good is this drop going to be and what can I do with it, you have to assess how good is this drive that's coming in, because, all right, if it's low, I just have to survive. But if it's not low, if it's high enough, I want to keep the lead. And I think, you know, like you were describing to Kristen's opponent, you need to, right, as you were talking, it's like I want you to punch that ball deeper. And if you punch it deeper, punching it will get it back. If they drove it, they've had no time to get in. And if you punch it back, they will still not have time to get in. If you punch it back deep enough, they will have to wait on it, and now they're still back there. But if you kind of block it, take some pace off of it, and it lands short, that gives them time, and then the position of the ball being shorter lets them step in, and now you've lost your advantage. The point is pretty much going to be neutralized. So it's recognizing this thing's higher. I'm going to punch it back deeper. And as I watched that, that was a mixed final from a couple weeks ago. I just kept seeing Ben as he was running in after his return. The ball got driven at him, and he just kept stepping out with that backhand in front of him, and not. He kept keeping the lead in the point. And it wasn't a big swing. It was just a punch in front of him, and it just looked so simple. It's like, well, I kind of wrote to myself. It's like I was capturing this video on my phone so that I can remind myself I need this shot. It's like I kind of like my backhand as I'm running in. This is what I need to do.
That is so well said. This notion of it's a punch. It's not just a block. I said swing, and I'm going to stop saying that because it's a punch. I love that. You guys, do not let the paddle get close to your chest. Do not let your hands get close to your body. You are going to meet that thing so far in front of you. You're going to catch it so far early. And that's exactly what Ben demonstrated in those videos. I love that, Scott. Thank you for that. All right, what are we missing on the fourth shot, Scott? I feel like I need like a harder question for you. Where's my trick question this podcast? On the switch. You were going to talk to us about the switch. I was watching my sister's videos, and she is switching, hitting the fourth as she's moving, lunging. If you catch yourself moving on the fourth, is it a function of something's wrong with your fourth or something was wrong with your return?
No, I mean, I think that's this is one of the toughest kind of scenarios in pickleball is if I'm returning and I have to unwind, I have to hit this return and then run quickly and unwind the stack. And right when we're serving against someone who's doing that, like what is plan A? Plan A is serve deep to this person who's trying to unwind and then drive to their sideline. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, if I'm the person returning and having to deal with this, I typically am going to want to return down the line and then hustle, because if I return down the line and they're trying to attack me, they have to hit it cross court, and they can't hit it as hard cross court or it will go out. Mm-hmm. So I think that would be kind of tip number one. If I have to unwind the stack and deal with a fourth, it's like, okay, return it down the line as best you can. The other thing, and here's what we haven't talked about, so let's talk about it, is fourth shots are not just from the returner, they're also the returner's partner. The returner's partner is already at the kitchen. So if we're trying to unwind, if my partner has to unwind the stack and they're returning and I'm already at the kitchen, well, based on where they return it, I'm going to try and get really big in the middle and help as much as possible. Right? So it's like the returner's partner, as soon as that return comes, actually, whether you're unwinding the stack or not, it's like until the returner gets all the way in, and at the amateur level, that doesn't always happen that quickly. The returner's partner can't just stand still on their side. It's like you got to take a step over to the middle and have some presence up there. Deal with that first third shot, whether it's a drive or a drop. Help out while your partner is making their way up. And then if you can help out, hit that shot and then get back on your side. Does that make sense?
So I thought that the golden wisdom nugget bomb had already been dropped on this podcast, but go ahead, everyone, and rewind 60 seconds and listen to everything Scott just said, because that is so juicy, so good, so critical. When your partner hits a bad return, it is now actually, believe it or not, your responsibility. What happens next? You can impact and affect the trajectory and the outcome of the point by helping out. And by the way, the helping out could just be a little crazy movement. I call this the Eric Onson's movement. You know, he's like having a seizure when he gets to the kitchen line. He shakes his shoulders. It's like a chicken with his neck. And I'm like, all of a sudden not watching the ball. I'm watching Eric moving around like a madman, right? So you, as the partner who's already at the net, can impact the trajectory of that point. Move and help, or just move, and that will help.
As I kind of started talking about that scenario happened a lot when I used to teach a lot at the park, and I did a lot of 3-and-me's. And when I'm doing 3-and-me's and so my partner is back returning, and it's like they don't hit a very good return. It's kind of floating in the center, and so I can tell they're not coming up. It's like, well, as the partner, get way over in the middle, and I just get super aggressive, and it does, just like you said, like it's very distracting to the opponent. And so they would say, what should I do when you're up there in the middle? Like, I don't feel like I can avoid you. And I would tell them, I've overcommitted so much to the middle. If you can just control a ball back behind me, that's your answer. So it's like, yeah, we're talking about the fourth, so the returner's partner can help by being in the middle, but then the answer to that, always go behind that person. Like in mixed, especially when the guys in mixed love getting big in the middle to take that fourth shot. And I think a very underplayed strategy against these aggressive guys, rightfully so aggressive guys, is the next shot back behind them. Don't still try to get it over to the other side.
Love that. One clip I wanted to share, actually 2 clips, are me from a year and a half ago, you guys, absolutely eating crow on 2 fourth shots. And my fourths were so bad in this match a year and a half ago at the Select Medical Orange County Cup PPA event that I literally went to the drawing board, re-engineered my fourths, and I'm going to hit play so you know exactly what to never do. So you can see here, Etta Wright is serving to my partner, Sarah Ansbury, and she drops down my line. I lunge to grab it in the air, and no surprise, we lose the point. That is not how you ever want to hit a fourth shot. And now I'm going to press play on one more clip. Really similar scenario. Etta takes the third, drops it. I do the same thing where I lunge with my back and kind of stab at the ball, hit an easy pop-up, and we are very lucky to win this point. So why did I just show this? That match inspired me to go to the drawing board, and what I ended up doing, and so for anyone who loves to play the left, please listen to this. I ended up learning if people are dumb enough to hit it that close to my sideline, and I'm 5'9" with a 6 foot tall person's reach, go ERNE, right? So if you're listening to this and you're not ERNEing, but you love to play the left, consider it a gift if someone's going to hit the third up your sideline, anywhere near that sideline. And it's kind of fun, Scott. As you know, I've been obsessively sending you these videos, but I'm now tomahawking those shots, which has been really, really cool. So I'm challenging everyone listening to this. If you love to play the left, try and ERNE your fourths more.
The fourth shot ERNE. Yeah, that is, I wish I did it more. It's like, I would say, like, if you had to name someone, who do you think has the most fourth shot ERNEs?
Christian Alshon.
Yeah, he or Lung, I would say those two guys. Fourth shot ERNE. I think it's something that is just, it's always in their mind. Like every time they hit a return, they're running up. I think they're always looking for, is it in that, like they visually have a little green zone over there. It's like, ooh, is it in that zone? Thank you.
And that's exactly where my mind is right now. So I don't know if you noticed, but at the previous MLPs, that's exactly what I was doing. Actually, in the Irina Tereshchenko, Yana Newell match, they kept going up that line. And I'm like, all right. And I'd kind of just straddle the line. So you don't even have to fully ERNE, right? Like just get that momentum moving left. And then I was hitting it cross court, and I think we won. We won 3 rallies that way. All right, Scott, I think we're done with the fourth shot. I loved this episode. And if you guys haven't listened to the episode on returns, you're definitely going to want to go back and do that. As Scott said, they're kind of companion shots, right? The second and the fourth. So Scott, what do we have to look forward to? Not next week, because we will be in Virginia Beach, but the week after. What is our episode?
So I think that if we look at the trends of where pickleball is going, what I see a lot of is the power game, the drives, and just the blasting away. It's not these 100-shot long dink rallies. It is power from anywhere at all times, and so I think we should talk about it.
Wow. So you guys, if you want to learn how the power game could become your new favorite shots, if you want to learn how to drive the ball well, if you want to learn how to attack well, don't miss the next episode. $1 million. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can
Yeah,
hear you
I think we're locked.
rustling. Amazing. All right, let's get into it.